Now you will hear some talks and discussions about academic topics. Each talk or discussion is followed by 4 or more questions. Choose the best answer to each question and mark the letter of the correct answer on your answer sheet. You will hear each talk or discussion only one time. Questions 26 through 29. Listen to a teacher talking in a history class.
When people think of life in Europe hundreds of years ago, they often think of castles built of stone with huge towers. Castles were the homes of kings and queens and other powerful people. Hundreds of relatives, soldiers, and workers also lived there. The kitchen was a very important place in a castle. It was busy all day and every day. A castle's kitchen was usually located a good distance away from other castle rooms and buildings, especially the Great Hall, a large room where people gathered for meals and other activities. This was because of the danger of fires. The kitchen staff needed to use fire for cooking. But sometimes kitchen fires accidentally grew out of control and could spread to other parts of the castle. That's why the kitchen was usually far away. Each kitchen also had a garden where vegetables were grown. Back then, food could not be frozen or kept in refrigerators like today. Some vegetables could be stored underground, but not for long. So most vegetables were picked fresh from the castle garden as they were needed. But of course, a king's dinner consisted of many other ingredients like bread, meat, and fish. To prepare a full meal, many cooks were needed. The castle kitchen employed a whole team of people, some of whom made bread, and others who prepared desserts or cooked meat dishes. The chef was like a head manager, who was responsible for making sure that the team of assistants did their job right. Although chefs would also be involved in the cooking of some parts of the meal, their main task was to supervise the whole team.
Now answer the questions. Number 26. What is the main topic of the talk? Number 27. What was important about the location of a castle's kitchen? Number 28. What does the teacher say about vegetables? Number 29. According to the teacher, what was the chef's main responsibility? Questions 30 through 33. Now you will hear part of a radio program.
Hello, listeners. Today I'll be speaking with Ms. Amanda Jones, the Town Director of Road Transportation. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Ms. Jones, it seems like there are always new roads to build or old ones to fix. Let's start with new roads. How do you decide where to put in a new road?
Well, that's an interesting question. One way to think about it is to go back in history. You know, people didn't build the first roads. Animals did. These roads were really just tracks, just paths that animals made in the dirt as they walked to find food or water. Then people started to use them. In fact, some of the roads we drive on today were at one time paths made by wild animals.
But we humans began making roads for ourselves at some point, right?
Yes, of course. We made them when we needed them, which happened when we started to settle in communities, and we wanted to trade with people in other communities. Even then, the roads were pretty simple. Let me ask a question. Why would we need anything more, like paved roads?
Well, I suppose when we wanted to carry things, when we built vehicles, like carts and wagons.
Exactly. And that's when you start to see better roads, roads made with logs, or better yet, stone or brick, and roads made with good drainage. A good road has to have a place for water to go. Rainwater can really damage a road or even wash it away. In England, thousands of years ago, people made roads on ridges, along the cliffs and hills beside streams and rivers. Why? Because it's drier there. Ridgeways, they called them. Some ridgeways still exist in England. They're still used today for walking and hiking. Now, road building really started to increase when nations began to grow. In ancient India, rulers created big road networks. It helped them to control a lot of land from central cities. And the Romans became excellent road builders. After all, they had a huge empire to connect together. But the roads in ancient Greece were not as good as those of the Romans. They didn't put as much effort into road building. Why? Because Greece is full of islands, and they traveled more by boat.
Now answer the questions. Number 30. What are the speakers mainly talking about? Number 31. Why does the woman talk about animals? Number 32. Why did the people in England build ridgeways? Number 33. What does the woman say about roads in ancient Greece? Go on to the next page. Questions 34 through 38. Now you will hear a speaker talking to a class on a trip to a marine aquarium.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for visiting the aquarium today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the thousands of fish we have here, as well as the other sea animals. During the next hour, we're going to show you some more sea creatures. They all come from a body of water called the Sargasso Sea. The Sargasso Sea is actually part of the Atlantic Ocean. What I mean is, it isn't a separate body of water. It's more like a sea within an ocean. It's located off the southern half of North America, and it is very large. It covers millions of kilometers. Now, a couple of things make it distinctive. First, and probably most important, the waters there are very calm and warm. There's also very little wind there. Surrounding the Sargasso Sea are water currents in the Atlantic that move in a circular motion counterclockwise. This water swirls around the Sargasso Sea. Because of the way these currents move, the water in the middle of the Sargasso Sea doesn't move much at all. Because of the still waters and the lack of wind, sailing ships crossing the Atlantic travel much more slowly when they get to the Sargasso Sea. Without wind, sailboats can get stuck there for long periods. Something else that's unusual about the Sargasso Sea is the seaweed floating on its surface. Large amounts of a kind of seaweed called sargassum float on top of the water there. And because of the currents, the seaweed stays in the Sargasso Sea. It's kind of held in place by the rotating currents. Now, this seaweed is what interests us most here at the aquarium because it supports all kinds of sea life, like shrimp, crabs, and fish. Sargassum creates an ecosystem for them to live in. What makes this ecosystem quite remarkable is that the creatures there are ones you'd expect to find much closer to shore, much closer to land, not out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Most likely, Sargassum probably did not exist in the Sargasso originally. Rather, the seaweed and some of the ecosystem it supported drifted out into the Sargasso Sea long ago and became trapped there by the currents. From there, it simply spread all over the Sargasso Sea.
Now, answer the questions. Number 34. What is the speaker mainly talking about? Number 35. According to the speaker, what do certain currents in the Atlantic Ocean do? Number 36. What is the speaker explaining when he mentions sailing ships? Number 37. What is sargassum? Number 38. According to the speaker, what is surprising about some animal species that live in the Sargasso Sea? Questions 39 through 42. Listen to part of a discussion in a science class.
Since you all seemed to like our discussion last week, I thought we'd continue talking about unusual animals. Have any of you ever heard of an animal called the narwhal?
No, but whale sounds kind of like whale. Is a narwhal a kind of whale?
In fact, it is. The narwhal is a species of whale that lives in the cold waters of the Arctic Ocean. Now, both male and female narwhals have teeth, but the male's teeth look very strange. This is because the male narwhal has one long, straight tooth. How long? It's about 7 to 10 feet long. That's longer than the height of the tallest person in the world. Since this one tooth is so long and pointy, a lot of people say it looks like the horn of a unicorn. In fact, sailors in the old days used to call the narwhal the unicorn of the sea. Some people even thought that it had magical powers.
Why did they think it was magical? Because of the big tooth?
Precisely. Hundreds of years ago in the Middle Ages, Europeans thought that unicorn horns could cure people who were sick. Because the narwhal's tooth looks like a unicorn's horn, some people thought it could be used to cure sick people. As a result, narwhal teeth were considered quite valuable, and they were sold by merchants for a lot of money.
So why do narwhals have this long tooth? Do they use it to protect themselves?
Well, we're not sure. But a lot of scientists agree that male narwhals probably use it to attract female mates, the way a male peacock uses his beautiful feathers to attract a mate. The female narwhal will choose the male with the longest tooth, the same way that the female peacock chooses the male with the most beautiful feathers.
Now, answer the questions. Number 39. What is the main topic of the talk? Number 40. Why does the teacher mention unicorns? Number 41. Why did people in Europe hundreds of years ago think the narwhal was special? Number 42. Why does the teacher mention peacocks?